It's
Did you just say 3, 2, 1? That was
yeah,
so fast.
baby, I'm sorry because it's what it did. Hello, everyone. Yes, my daughter's talking about the app that I'm using right now. Welcome, Carla D. Thornton, and taking the time out of your busy day and schedule to meet with me and participate in this interview. Everyone, this is my beautiful daughter, Carla D. Thornton. She's taking the time out to let me actually interview her. And the topic we want to talk about today is to understanding hospice. It's very, very important to our family right now because we do have a loved one who's actually dealing with that. Actually, my mother. And when they brought up these terminology, I had no idea what they were talking about. But my beautiful daughter is here to actually help us because she has been in that field for a couple of years, and I love her, and she has a lot of information to help us understand hospice. She says just a, just a little bit. Thank you for joining us this evening, baby. To start off, can you give us the definition, your definition of hospice, baby? Can you let the audience know your definition of hospice?
I can definitely let the audience know. Um, in my personal opinion, it is to provide and take care of the terminally ill and the sick, those that can no longer provide for themselves.
Okay, thank you, baby. And in your own words, what are the goals of hospice care? What are the goals?
Sorry, I'm trying to find like lighting here. It's terrible on my end. I know for me, I can speak on my behalf as far as when I walked into someone's home, it was always to be first and foremost compassionate, understanding to the best of the ability that I could, seeing as though I'm also not the patient. But being able to provide care for them, any type of information if they needed. Also, not just providing the care for them and the hands-on, but also with the emotional and spiritual side. And with hospice, they have a team. So, it's for psychological, physical, etc. But for me, compassion was the number one thing. I wanted my families to feel as if they were a priority, which they were, and being compassionate and understanding and actually being able to step outside of yourself and being selfless. Those are the most important things to me. So, yeah.
Okay, thank you. In other words, is how you say taking the tension off of oneself, and it's actually about that individual. That's where the focus and attention is supposed to be on. Okay, okay. Thank you, baby. Okay. And how does one go by doing research or getting information in regards to hospice? Because I know you were saying that it's not necessarily a good idea to kind of wait till you actually get that news maybe about a loved one. So what would be your advice as far as how one going about getting that information?
Well, outside of your own personal research, we all, at least for me, Google is my best friend.
Yes.
So doing your own research, of course, it's word of mouth as well. Some people may not be going through it, but they have, friends or someone that may know about it because their loved one was on it. Also, there are some that are already in like nursing facilities, assisted livings, and those environments definitely always have any type of information on it because even if it's not their loved one, there is someone else in there that is probably going through a similar situation. So outside of course, you doing your own research, it's word of mouth and basically, as I said before, being very inquisitive. Also, I'll talk to your family as well as the person that is sick, because what they want and what they desire is going to ultimately be what is more important. Because some of us will go outside ourselves, and because someone's sick and we don't know what's going on, it's about what can we do for them instead of actually asking them what it is that they would like or what they would want. So, yeah.
Yes. Now, and I was going to ask you too, baby, because like I said, well, we're just dealing with our loved one, my mom, when we was in the hospital, and they mentioned that word, and they said hospice, and then I noticed they mentioned another word was palliative care, but they mentioned hospice, and then they said changed it back to palliative care. When your mom did some research, when I did some research, so it's a difference. In other words, it seems like they were
Mhm.
saying like palliative care. In other words, a person could be on palliative care for a week, could be weeks, could months, could be a year. But in other words, but when it's hospice, they said it's completely different. In other words, that's when they've actually given them what, 6 months or less to live. Is that correct, baby?
Yes, hospice is more right. It's going to be more, I wouldn't say exact, but that is when the doctor himself or herself has signed off and basically said, there's nothing from this point on that we can do. You have 6 months or less. So it is an estimated time frame, so to speak. Palliative is a little different because it's no guarantee.
Right.
And some people, as far as palliative, is because it might be a situation that they've gone through and they only need it for so long. So someone's able to come in and assist. Hospice is more hands-on because it is an estimated time frame, and the declines that you see that happen with the sickly or ill is going to be more abrupt. Now, don't get me wrong, because there is some patients that I've had and that I met that have been on hospice for a year or 2 years. So once
Oh,
again,
okay.
we are not God. So
Right.
we do not have an exact date or time that your loved one may be gone. Like I said, hospice is more 6 months or less, to where palliative, it's not necessarily an exact time frame of that, if that makes any sense.
Right, right. Because like I said, I noticed with mom, they said hospice, but then they put it on palliative care. And of course, mama was diagnosed 2 years, and thank God she's still here. But when I heard
Right.
him say that, I didn't really understand. But then when I did my research, it sounds like more or less palliative care is more or less is like trying to actually help that person if they can possibly to get better. It sounds like, but like with
Right.
hospice, it's definitely some kind of time frame that the doctor has decided it's just only going to be a certain amount of time and we can't do anything else. Is that right? Am I saying
Right.
it correctly?
Yeah.
Okay, okay, okay. Thank you. How does one and or the family I'm sorry, dear. How does one and or the family prepare for this time in their loved one's life?
Um, I don't think any of us can naturally prepare for a loved one to go away. Um, Outside of course, the emotional basis. But speaking on as far as preparement, needing that extra guidance and assistance will be, of course, reaching out and inquisitive and more on care and what all is provided to you, as plus the loved ones. So for me, it's I would definitely say to become understanding of what it is that your loved one is really going through. Unfortunately, some people may get it more so from going and choosing a hospice, agency to deal with. Like I said, they're going to have more information for you because it's a team. It's an RN, it's a doctor, you have your LVNs, you have your nurses that come in, home health aides to assist with more of the hands-on and physical, of course, like the bathing and grooming. So understanding that there is really no boundaries, you're able to question and ask as much as you want. But once again, I would always, like I said, go back to speaking to the loved one that is ill. Like, okay, what is it that you're desiring or what is it that you're wanting? Because hospice is end of life. And those individuals do have a right to say, like, okay, hey, I want this help or I don't want it. Um, and definitely a lot of people are more inquisitive about of course the like what it is that hospice is really doing. If they come into if they're going to come into my house, how we can rearrange that around. As far as medication, comfortability is really the hugest deal. Like I said, it's the most important is making sure that they're comfortable, no pain. Psychological, that definitely comes in. Like I said, that pretty much goes side by side with me, with as far as making sure you're being inquisitive and answering those asking those questions. As far as the preparement for me is, of course, with the social worker and knowing like, okay, hey, we need to make sure we have our paperwork in line and everything. When you choose like a funeral home, they'll be able to assist with that. And once again, with the nurses and LVNs, they come in a lot because they are going to be more about the medication and making sure that they're comfortable. For sure. It's so much to it.
Okay.
and it's a lot. So it's definitely with, like I say, to prepare, I would say to find, an hospice agency that, of course, you reviewed and you looked up on, and making sure that this is something you're definitely going to want to, the person you're going to want to go with, or the agency you're going to want to go with. And then it's about asking all those questions. They do, however, most agencies are going to have representatives that come in and explain those things to you. So educating, like I said,
Okay.
yourself is going to very much prepare you for that.
Okay. And that's actually what I was getting ready to
I
ask you.
lost you. You got so quiet.
Oh, I'm sorry. It's just, and sometimes the video is going in and out. I apologize, babe. It's probably why you didn't hear me. And that actually goes hand in hand with the last question I was going to ask you. If you could give anyone some advice in regards to hospice for themselves or loved one, what would it be? And it definitely sounds like that you're saying something definitely about educating yourself. But
Yeah.
yeah, what would your advice be?
Definitely educating yourself, because that's the thing I noticed, especially when I went into the homes. It's the, hey, I may not have thought of that question at the moment that the person was here, so whomever comes into the house next, they're like asking those questions. Like I said, educating yourself, and even beyond the agency and what they say, because some people might choose a certain agency and then unfortunately they don't get what was expected. So it come into play. That's another thing. Like I said, I'm really big, outside of even hospice, whatever place I choose to go in and work for, or a restaurant that I choose to go eat at. You need to look at the reviews, because it's about what fits your loved one and what fits you. A lot of people are, like I said, are most concerned with, like, okay, what is it that I need to do, and how do I go about doing that? So, like, to me is, word of mouth, personal researching yourself, looking at the reviews, calling and asking a million questions. And sometimes you don't know what questions to ask, but even in that, once you choose the agency, they're going to explain, okay, step by step, this is what's going on. And then that's when the questions kind of start arising. Unfortunately, sometimes the majority of the people that I've gone into their household, this randomly, it happened. One day mom was fine, the next day she wasn't. So people haven't planned for, oh, this is in the life for my mom or my dad or whomever else. And once again, emotionally speaking, none of us are ever going to be prepared to lose someone that we love,
Right.
but there is a way that you can go about it, and you're not alone. You're not. And that's the thing. These families and these patients have to know that they're not alone, and that they're going to get the guidance step by step. And any family, to me, deserves that, to get the step by step, holding a hand, always being there to the end. And basically, like I said, being able to lean on someone else, and the understanding of it, if any of that makes sense.
Yeah, to get through it, because when I did my research, I didn't know this as well. It mentioned something about even after your loved one's gone, that they have some kind of assistance
Mm-hmm.
for, and I didn't realize
Yeah.
that either. So now, is that through the agencies? Like if you go through?
Yes, depending on what agency you're with, and if not, of course, they have the information to give to you as to,
Okay.
how to go about that. But a lot of them, whatever agency you choose, it will still be technically like with them. They,
Okay.
whether it's like, a company that they work with or they've been working with,
Oh, okay.
whether it's psychiatrists or whomever. Because the fact is that, it's not over just because your loved one is
Right.
gone.
Yeah.
There's still things, and then emotions hit at different times. Some
Right.
people, they're strong, and they're strong all the way up until mom, dad, grandpa is gone. And then that's when, when it hits, and it's like, okay, here comes, the person grieving. Sometimes it's not until that person's birthday or a holiday. So the
Right.
time frame is always different. So they still give you that extended time once your loved one has passed to still get that support. And that may be something that you'll ask, of course, right up front. If you get lucky with certain agencies, the representative that comes there will always already let you know that as well.
Okay.
Like I said, unfortunately, it's learning through the process, of, end of life with your loved one. But to know that not only are you there for the patient, but the family too, because the family and patient is one. So naturally, like I tell people, I didn't just go in and just do the physical part either. It was a lot of
Right.
emotional, and it was a lot of extra sitting down, and it was even just being someone just to listen,
Right.
because that matters a lot too. Because there are some people that are completely alone, or you're the last, that's their last living relative. There's some that you come into contact with that, this is it for them. That's the only parent that they may have, left. And some have suffered tragedy maybe within a month or two before this even happened. You get different genders, backgrounds, and also ages. My youngest one was 18 and he had brain cancer. So, that's tough not only on that child, but also on that
The
mother
family
or
members, yeah.
father as well. You
Oh
know what I
yeah.
mean? Your child hasn't even begun to live. I mean, you
Right.
know what I'm saying? Um, and for me, it wasn't too tough because I guess I'm younger, so he was able to lean into me more because of the age, I think, as well. And you'd be surprised. Like I tell people, I learned a lot going in. So you're gonna learn a lot from these families as well as they're going to learn a lot from you. It's a very rewarding career job, and it's very emotional. You have your good and bad days like any other job, but it's worth it because you're making a difference. You know what I mean? And like I said, it's about compassion, being selfless, and truly, to me, to be in hospice, it's a calling. It's not something you just
Right.
decide to do.
Right.
And trust me, once you start, if it's for you, if it's not for you.
Right.
So,
Right.
so yeah, it's a very rewarding and beautiful job and occupation to do. But like I tell anyone, never think that any question is too silly or ever think that, maybe I shouldn't ask this. Ask away, because that's going to be the best way, and you're going to get the best care in that manner as well.
Yeah. Well, Mama appreciate it because, like I said, even with what we're dealing with right now, like I said, with our family,
Hmm.
um, I was blessed to actually have my daughter you in the field because a lot of stuff I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't prepared, and a lot of the terminology
Right.
didn't make sense, and I'm like, okay, wait a minute, whoa, what are you
Right.
all talking about? So it makes a difference, but it's one of those, once
Right.
again, is no one really could ever be prepared because you don't never know when you're going to
Right.
get that message from a doctor and say, oh, by the way, there's
Right.
nothing else we can do. She's going to be in hospice. Because I actually had lost a friend when I worked at the hospital, and actually had seen her a
Mhm.
week prior, and she was beautiful. She was smiling. She was telling she
Mhm.
was doing great. And a week later, I got a word from her husband through my significant other, and she had
Mhm.
passed. And I'm like, okay, but I just saw her a week ago, and she was
Right.
smiling. She was in a good mood. She felt good. So you never know. And it's so you're right. You just never know the day, the time, or the hour to prepare for
Right.
something like that. And like I said, and she was just, like I said, a friend, and of course a former patient. But and like I said, it's not a loved one of mine, so you can only imagine trying to deal
Right.
with that and emotions that you're going through with a loved one. So, and baby,
Right.
like I said, Mama's not going to keep you. You all, audience, thank you. I want to take time to take my beautiful daughter. It's a Sunday evening. Thank you for taking time out to, how you say, jump on here and do an interview with your mom and speak to you, the audience, and educate us more about hospice and even understanding. And I actually hope this video was beneficial to a lot of you all, or if you're dealing with loved ones now or someone who can benefit from this video, please feel free to share. If anybody has any questions as far as this topic, they can reach out to my beautiful guest, my daughter. You can find her on Facebook if you have any questions. I can't really help you in that area, but she can definitely assist you if you actually want to send her a DM or something. But if anyone's actually curious about what I do, that's not what I do for a living. You can actually send me a DM or a text or an email. Thanks again, though, baby. Like I said, for taking that
Absolutely.
time out to let Mama do this interview. I appreciate it so much on a Sunday evening. Okay. I love you. You have a
Love
wonderful
you.
evening. And once again, thanks for being my guest this evening. And I'll be talking to you soon, baby. Okay. Oh, and did you have anything to say
Love
to the
you.
audience, Sister Carla, before Mama let you go?
Um,
Or any advice or any
Not
tips?
really. You kind of put me on the spot there. See,
Okay.
we went over these questions, y'all, right? And what I wrote down is nothing that I said at all. So this always happens.
Okay.
But no, honestly, like my mom said, if there's any questions, concerns, anything, I do follow her on Facebook, so you guys can reach out. I'm Carla D.Thornton. So yeah, but honestly, above all things is having that hope and faith. That's what I tell people, because none of us are here forever. So we're all going to eventually go to heaven, you know what I'm saying? It's inevitable. It happens to all of us. There is no perfect answer, unfortunately. And I may not have all the answers, and heck, even the agencies you guys choose may not have all the answers, but definitely having that support team is what matters most of all. So yes, any questions or concerns, please message my mother or myself, and we would try to help you guys as much as possible. And God bless, and we love you all.
Thanks, baby. Have a good evening. Mom will talk to you soon.
Love
Bye.
you.
Bye, baby.